They ruled Europe without any crowns. Their secret changed history. Imagine a brotherhood of men who belonged to no nation. For 3 centuries, they wandered across the face of Europe, carrying no weapons. Yet they possessed power that kings and bishops could only envy. They had no permanent homes, no fixed employers, and they answered to no crown. Instead, they answered to the laws of mathematics, a specific, hidden kind of mathematics that, according to our history books, shouldn't have existed then. These men were the master masons, the architects of the impossible. They built the most technically sophisticated structures the medieval world had ever seen. Cathedrals that have stood for 800 years, defiant against time, gravity, and the limits of human knowledge. But here is the thing. They didn't just build. They guarded. They operated within a veil of absolute secrecy, protected by rituals. Today we can stand beneath the heights of Chartres, so we know what they built. The evidence is carved in stone. However, we still don't fully understand how they did it, or why the knowledge they carried was worth protecting with their lives. To understand the change, we look at Europe in the 11th century. Before this, architecture was heavy, grounded, and somewhat suffocating. Romanesque churches were fortress-like, with thick walls and tiny windows. It was a matter of survival to prevent the roof collapsing. Then almost overnight, everything shifted. Gothic architecture appeared, with soaring vaults and walls that looked like lace, flooding everything with light. The primary magic trick was the flying buttress. These external arches transfer the crushing weight of the roof away from the walls. To design this correctly, you need to calculate the precise angle and placement. A few inches off and the wall would buckle. This requires a grasp of trigonometry and structural analysis that we associate with much later centuries. Yet these cathedrals still stand. So, who were these people? They called themselves the Freemasons. The free referred to free stone, a high-quality stone that could be intricately carved. These men were the tech giants of the Middle Ages. Kings competed for their favor, and popes sent urgent letters begging for their expertise. They recognized each other through signs and passwords, a system that allowed a master mason to immediately prove his skill. Historian Dr. John Harvey identified a network of only 300 master masons operating across Europe between 1150 and 1400. All connected. Just 300 men were responsible for virtually every major Gothic masterpiece. They were a tight-knit elite, maintaining a code of absolute silence. But where did this explosion of brilliance come from? Many historians believe the trail leads back to the dust of the Holy Land. In 1118, 9 knights approached King Baldwin II of Jerusalem. They requested permission to establish headquarters on the Temple Mount. For 9 long years, these knights didn't fight. Instead, they excavated. Records from the time describe extensive tunneling operations deep beneath the mount. What they found down there has never been officially revealed, but what happened after they returned is a matter of documented fact. In 1128, the Templars arrived back in Europe. Almost immediately, Gothic architecture began to bloom. The connection is written in the ledgers. The Templars were the venture capitalists of the Gothic age. They funded the construction of Saint-Denis, the very first Gothic cathedral. They poured gold into Chartres and Reims. Dr. Louis Charpentier demonstrated that Chartres' proportions encode mathematical relationships that shouldn't have been known, specifically the ratio of the Earth's circumference to its radius. This requires an understanding of spherical geometry. Where would they get that? Perhaps from the place they had just spent 9 years digging. Jerusalem held libraries with works of Alexandrian mathematicians preserved by Arabic scholars. It seems the Templars didn't just bring back gold, they brought back the software for a new civilization. This brings us back to the secrecy of the Masons. We're told they were just protecting their trade secrets, like a modern patent. But ancient documents suggest something deeper. Take the Regius manuscript from 1390. It doesn't talk about how to mix mortar or stone. Instead, it traces the craft back to Euclid in ancient Egypt. It speaks of a lineage of knowledge, a chain of transmission to Europe. A chain of transmission that passed from Egypt to Greece, to Rome, and finally into the hands of those who would build. The cathedrals weren't just places to pray. Expert Dr. Keith Critchlow says these buildings are instruments designed to produce effects on human consciousness. Every proportion, alignment, and acoustic property was designed to resonate with the frequencies of the universe. You are inside a massive machine, and the master masons were the only ones who knew how to tune that machine. They held the keys to this hidden resonance. By 1307, the story took a dark turn. The Knights Templar were too powerful, Their leaders were burned at the stake, their assets seized. The operative masons, the men who actually cut the stone, continued to build for another century, but the era of the great cathedrals faded. Eventually, they transformed. By the 17th and 18th centuries, they became speculative Freemasons, the philosophers and revolutionaries who shaped the Enlightenment. They kept the same signs, the same passwords, and the same claim to an ancient, hidden truth. The Brotherhood lived on. We are left with the stones. The cathedrals are still standing, silent witnesses to a level of mastery we are still trying to reconstruct. Was it all just clever engineering and lucky timing? Or did 9 knights find something beneath the Temple Mount that changed history? The official records might be silent, but the geometry of the cathedral speaks for itself. It's a language of light and stone. It is a language waiting for us to finally learn how to read it. The secrets are hidden in plain sight. What do you think was hidden in those tunnels beneath Jerusalem? Was it a lost science or something even more profound? Tell us your theories in the comments. We are still piecing together the fragments of this ancient, monumental puzzle. These structures remind us that there are still mysteries in our world that defy simple explanations. The stone remembers. We are left with the stones. The cathedrals are still standing, silent witnesses to a level of mastery we are still trying to reconstruct. Was it all just clever engineering and lucky timing? Or did 9 knights find something beneath the Temple Mount that changed history? The connection between the Templars and the builders is written in the ledgers, in the gold that poured into the foundations of Europe. The speculative Freemasonry of the 18th century, the fraternity of philosophers and scientists, claimed the same ancient knowledge as their own. Whether that knowledge came from Solomon's Temple or Alexandrian mathematics, the official record doesn't say, but the buildings speak. What they knew to build them, we are still trying to reconstruct. Every stone is a piece of a forgotten, divine puzzle. They built instruments to produce specific effects on human consciousness through geometry and sound. We are just beginning to understand. What do you think they found beneath the Temple Mount? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to Beyond Explained for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries. New videos every week. The official records might be silent, but the geometry speaks for itself. It's a language of light and stone, waiting to be read. What do you think they found? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to Beyond Explained. New mysteries every week.